What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am, of course, your host who eats his words the most, Ethan Smith, after you guys saw our crossover with the Locked On Reds guys this past weekend. We already know what happened. We're going to talk about that a little bit today, about a lot of different things. I'm coughing already because of how much we have to talk about. But we're going to talk about what happened this past weekend. Gary has a lot of things to say, as you see him to my right over here. He has a lot of things to say about a lot of different stuff. I have an interesting stat to bring up later on the episode about another thing the Pirates need to shore up and fix, as well as taking a look at the Dodgers and Red series ahead this week. Of course, all of them will be in PNC Park. The Pirates have a losing record in PNC Park right now, so we'll get into that too. But thank you for making me and Gary your first listen every single Monday. Even if it comes out at noon, I already know you guys look forward to this episode every single week. And of course, today's episode is brought to you by betonline.net. More on them later, but hopefully you also always say an 80-1 bet is worth it after this weekend at the Kentucky Derby. With all that said, let's get into today's episode.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And when the music hits, you know it's time to get real. We say that every time. And you could probably tell that there's a little bit of a different demeanor in my voice today. Gary is smiling at the camera because he's kind of just waiting for me to just let him go off. And yes, of course, welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am, of course, your host, Ethan Smith. That is Gary Morgan of Bucks in the Basement and inside. Well, wait, hold on.
Inside the Bucks basement and the
Pirates fan forum. Sorry, I was going to say inside the Pirates fan forum. That would be like we all saw. If any of you saw Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness, my mind is still boggled from all that stuff, as well as being boggled from the fact that the Pirates just lost a series to the Cincinnati Reds. And most people would say that was the worst thing that happened this weekend. And me and Gary agreed that it wasn't, because our favorite player in the world, Michael Perez, had to come back for a reason that Gary alluded to months ago about Roberto Perez sustaining an injury at some point and the Pirates catcher situation becoming glaringly more interesting. So I'm going to let Gary sit back and say what he has to say about the catcher position here with Andrew Knapp and Michael Perez. Gary, the floor is yours to talk about it.
I mean, first of all, Ethan, I think I tweeted to my podcast partner on Sunday night, damn, I wish we had two shows this week. And I kind of forgot that I do a little bit because I get to be on here. So thank you for the platform. First, I wish I wasn't so mad about it, but it was so obvious that this situation was going to crop up that everyone from the buy nothing, sell nothing, whatever people to the diehards to everyone involved in this team knew this was coming. Everyone did. It's an injury-prone catcher who's 33 years old, and you expected him to come in here and have the single healthiest season that he's ever put on the books. That's what you expected. And you basically said to the fans, hey, let's say best case scenario, this guy does get that 120 games in. Those other 42, screw them. We don't need to bother having anybody here that's worthwhile to actually play catcher. Even as we constantly remind you that the catching position is paramount to this team, how this team functions, and the training and development of the young pitching staff that you fostered here. You want to talk about derelict of duty? The catching position is the very definition of it for the Pittsburgh Pirates. They had a solid catcher. They traded that solid catcher. And you can like that return all you want. I think it's good. I love Kyle Nicholas. I'm excited about how Connor Scott started the season. I think Thompson has some upside. I don't hate the return. I hate the timing. I hate trading from a position that was settled to create a hole and then backfill it with a player that doesn't stay healthy and do absolutely nothing to fix the main problem, which was that every time Jake sat down, the team stunk. Like, you can't go into a season like that. And I don't know how I'm supposed to trust that you can handle this overarching development project, which is what this is, when I can't trust you to fill one position without destroying it. That's all. For now.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree 100%. The funnier part about all of it is you basically told Michael Perez to piss off this offseason. You basically did. I mean, with
Sure.
everything that they handled with him, they were like, okay, cool, you're being DFA'd. Nobody picked him up because he's not worthy of being picked up by anybody. And albeit,
In an absolutely barren catcher free agent market, mind you.
yeah, like he would probably be like a top 10 free agent catcher this offseason. He probably would be. I hate to say it that way, but he probably would have been a top 10 catcher option if he would have been a free agent. Which, albeit, when you're designated for assignment, you are.
You're
Now,
the
I get it.
freest of free agents at that point.
Yeah,
And still nobody wanted him.
and like, yeah, he came up yesterday, and everybody was like, "Oh yeah, cool story." Like Oliver Perez let Michael Perez know that Roberto Perez got hurt, so he had to go from Indianapolis to Cincinnati, and then he comes up and hits a home run. I was like, "Awesome, great, cool." It's one game, so a lot of people were asking me. They were like, "What do we do about the catcher position?" I said, "Nothing. There's nothing you can do." I mean, there really isn't. I understand that Henry Davis just got pulled up to Double-A Altoona, which a lot of people were very excited about, and I think he was deserving of. But also, it was a direct correlation to this move because I believe somebody else had to move up to Triple-A. I don't know who it was, but I know a catcher probably had to move up to Triple-A to fill that void that Michael Perez leaves, which then leads to a Double-A one. So you look at the entire state of the catcher position in this entire system. Henry Davis obviously is the clear-cut favorite. I mean, he's the number one overall pick last year, but you're also creating this thing now where you're putting all of the pressure on him to be the catcher of the future, which again is warranted for him being the number one pick. I will say that, but in an environment like this where you want these guys to feel comfortable and feel like I can develop on my own time, Gary, does it really feel like Henry Davis can develop on his own time with the state of this farm system where it's at catcher?
No. But I expected him to probably make an appearance in 2023 at some point anyway. I think he's on track. I think he's independent of this. They have some guys, Jamie Ritchie, here's the story that just kind of broke yesterday at the same time by Greg Brown, of all people, which kind of means he wants it out there, right? Or somebody wants it out there. Because he doesn't say things he ain't told to say. Just trust me on that. So Jamie Ritchie was apparently the guy they planned to have as the backup this year. They felt he won the job in spring, but he got hurt. So he's on the IL even right now. And that's why they went and got Andrew Knapp. So we wouldn't even have a guy so bad that the 3-win Reds before this series couldn't keep on their team is now our starting catcher. Ouch. The other one is a guy that the Pirates couldn't keep on their roster in Michael Perez. It's a problem. And the worst thing is, man, Ethan, it was the most predictable problem in the entire world. I mean, I've probably, between your show, my show, and writing, I've probably mentioned that this exact scenario would play out 6-7 times. Yeah. So it's not like I'm fresh mad about it. I'm just mad.
Well, and this is the thing that I want to go ahead and tell people, too, is, while we wrap this segment up, is it's not like me and Gary were, hoping that Roberto Perez would get hurt. Nobody hopes that anybody gets injured. It's just more or less at looking at his career arc and seeing that he's just an injury-prone guy. It's just how it works. I mean, for Pittsburgh fans in general, with last year's Steelers team, yeah, they were fine. They were playing well for the most part, but everybody knew that that team wasn't beating the Kansas City Chiefs. We held out false hope in it, and then it happened, and everybody was like, oh, well, we expected this to happen. Obviously, this is on a much less scale, but you still get the point. I mean, everybody expected this to happen, and now the Pirates have to sit in their own grave at the backstop right now. And I will also go ahead and say, on a positive note, Josh Van Meter did really well for the situation at hand. I will say that. A lot of people wanted to give him crap, and I said, you go out there and catch for the first time in, how old is he, 26? You go sit out there and catch for the first time in 10 years, and the first time at the major league level, and tell me that I'm not doing a good job.
I mean, Ethan, I know you're trying to wrap this segment up, and tell me to shut up if you have to, but Josh Van Meter sitting back there trying like hell to catch those changeups from Will Crow. If nothing else, take advantage of that situation where you saw that and really understand the effect that a catcher has on a pitcher. Really understand it.
Yeah.
Because that's a bad catcher trying his best to be a good catcher. And it shook Will Crow to the core. Dylan Peters out there throwing to somebody he's never thrown to. Walks three guys straight.
Didn't give up a run all year, and then just not even just gave a one or two. He just imploded.
You just cannot discount the importance of that.
Yeah, and that's why a team that we will see in PNC Park this week in the Los Angeles Dodgers underratedly have one of the better catchers in all of baseball, Will Smith, and that's a big reason why you see a lot of these teams that are very good are good, because their pitchers have a very good guy in the backstop. But again, Gary will probably be talking about this all week, so you got a good fresh 11 minutes out of it. Imagine an entire Pirates fan forum where he's probably going to be talking about it at length for about a half hour. That'll be fun. And if you guys want to even, baffle or dabble in the Pirates-Dodgers series that starts tonight, with the Dodgers listed as a minus 250 favorite, make sure you go to betonline.net. Of course, BetOnline is your number one source for all of your betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NBA and NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, and, of course, the run at the Roses this past weekend at the Kentucky Derby. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sport wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. And I keep coughing today. And BetOnline is where the game starts. Of course, the Pirates will be the underdog in all of these series, to no one's surprise. But now, as I was looking at some game notes heading into this Dodgers versus Pirates series, I told Gary about it, but I didn't tell him exactly the stat that I was bringing up. So we've alluded to catchers being very important to the Pirates for their pitching staff. For all the crap that people want to give this starting pitching staff and anything, the bullpen has been relatively good. The starters, they have their moments. The Pirates right now, I'll just say some general stuff, are 5-6 at home, 11-16 overall. Or 11-16 overall. So they're about to face a team in the Dodgers who collectively has a .324 on-base percentage. Ranks third in the National League. All of those are interesting stats, right? Fun fact that I did not know until this morning. Gary, what do you think the Pirates' record is in games where they score 5 or more runs? 5 runs isn't exactly a lot. I will say that. It might seem like a lot with this team, but 5 runs in an MLB game is not a lot. So, Gary, what do you think? We're going to play a little Price is Right kind of.
I'd say they probably won 9 or 10 of those games.
You were very close. The Pirates, when they score 5 or more runs this year, which has happened 9 times out of the 27 games they've played, are 8-1. 8-1. So this is where we kind of alluded to the pitching staff being an issue, I will say an issue, but more or less the catcher position being an issue. if this offense could just wake up and score 5 runs, like just wake up and say, okay, I'm not even telling them to do it all 3 games in a series. Do it twice.
Right.
Score 10 runs in 2 games. Is that hard? Is it really that hard? And
I mean, I don't know. We have 3 off days in 1 week, planned or unplanned, and for some reason they still have to give Brian Hayes a scheduled off day. So,
yeah.
If offense is super important, which I think we should have kind of suspected in baseball, I would think that maybe you don't have to be so stubborn and rigid with your stupid preordained lineups.
Yeah. Which I was going to say is it's very interesting that Hayes got the day off yesterday, considering the circumstances of they already had 3 off days in the week.
Yep.
They were off Monday, they were off Thursday, and they ended up being off Friday too. So
even his dad on Twitter is like, what?
Yeah, so like why does a guy who's 25 or 24 or 25 years old, who even when the season started, much like Roberto Perez said, I want to play this amount of games, albeit he said he wanted to play 162 games, which is probably never going to happen, but he wants to play. And not even on top of that, you have arguably your second best player on the roster, maybe even best player with the way Brian Reynolds has started the year, on the roster who wants to play. It's not like he's hurt. He's not hurt. So why is he not playing? I
Well,
I get the
step
whole
number 1 though, and okay, I'm talking about a silly rest thing, but step number 1, play your best players. They're not playing their best players. Like, there's no reason right now, as hot as he is, to be sitting Ben Gamble. Play him. Nope. Brian Reynolds, yeah, he's got to play through this. Play every day. Period. Brian Hayes needs to play. Diego Castillo needs to just stick at shortstop. Michael Chavis needs to be in that lineup. Second base, first base, I don't care which one. Vogelbach never comes out of that lineup till he stops hitting. You want Marisnik out there for his glove? Okay, I'll give you one. And catcher, boy, I wish there was an option. Point is, you have components there to put a decent lineup together. At least the most decent version of this lineup together. And you refuse to do it with any kind of consistency whatsoever. Because you're constantly trying to rest people or ease people in, or I don't even know what you're doing. But play who you got. Jack Sawinski should be out there.
Yeah.
You have to play the guys that are hitting. You can't be building lineups weeks in advance and just rigidly holding on to them. It's the most stupid thing I've ever seen. And I understand the rest component. I really do. Frustrating.
Well, yeah, it's frustrating too because, I actually saw somebody talk about this and I wanted to bring it up too because I think it's funny because I used to play Little League Baseball and I understood, like, I was arguably, not to toot my own horn, I was one of the better players on the team. So if we were playing a team that day that we knew we were going to beat already, they were like, Ethan, you know what? We know you came out here to play. We'll play you the first couple innings, and then we'll let this kid who never gets to play. It's like, okay, that's fine. There's a difference between that when it's 13, 14-year-old kids versus guys who you're literally paying 6 figures at minimum to play this game. And you said, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, Michael Chavis, Daniel Vogelbach, Brian Hayes, Diego Castillo, Brian Reynolds, Ben Gamble, Jack Sawinski, and Jake Marisnik even should all be in this lineup in some form or fashion. Pirates, I just named 8 guys, actually. Wait, 9 guys. I just named your lineup outside of catcher. Obviously, one of those guys has to be gone because of the catcher position, but you have 9 guys to fill 8 spots. So why are they making it so difficult by putting Josh Van Meter or Yoshi Tsutsugo, or, well, again, I'll quote Gary on this. There's 4 million reasons why Yoshi Tsutsugo is in the lineup. But at the end of the day, I feel like Derek Shelton, he's a good, hot take here, decent manager with what's given to him when he throws out the right lineups. Like when he actually throws the correct lineup out there, he does things pretty decently with how he makes decisions on the bullpen and stuff like that. It's not perfect because it's hard to, but this is a question that I think a lot of people probably get on me about is he might be the right guy, but is he the right guy right now with what the Pirates need?
Is he the right guy? I mean, I don't think we have an answer to that question. I get asked it all the time. It's not one that I can give you just a straight up thumbs up or thumbs down answer for. I can tell you, like, I disagree with some of his decisions, but I disagree with decisions that every manager. I disagree with Mike Sullivan, and like he's won 2 cups. It's not like I'm ever aiming for that as a possibility. It's like zero COVID was never going to happen. Well, zero disagreements with the manager is never going to happen either. So it's not as though I'm sitting here pretending that that's a possibility. But at the same time, you bring in Heath Hembry after the first time Dylan Peters blows up instead of David Bednar when you absolutely need strikeouts? I mean, like, this is simple. This is simple stuff. I almost swore, sorry. This is simple stuff. That's stuff you figure out. Putting together a lineup with the best of what you got, like having defined bench roles, when you have probably 5 players that on most teams wouldn't be on your 26-man, it should be pretty easy to define your bench. Define your bench, play your starters, let them cohese, and give you some chances at more offense. Let Brian Reynolds trust who's behind him for once. Let Michael Chavis settle in somewhere and take consistent swings and maybe make something of that power potential. If you must, play Yoshi consistently. Drop him in the lineup a little bit to like 6 or 7 and get him out of the way. And let him play down there until he finds his stroke. This stuff is not like you have to be Danny Murtaugh to do it. So, yeah, he's shaking my confidence because he's too rigidly stubborn to this preordained list of crap they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You got to have a little bit of looseness to you. You know? You never want somebody going up there at plate, standing there tight, gripping that bat and turning it into sawdust. You want somebody who looks loose up there. Derek Shelton's not loose. You got to loosen up a little bit and roll with the punches and actually make smart baseball moves. Make one move I expected, and I might believe that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think I can disagree on it at all. And maybe Derek Shelton needs a Built Bar. Maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe he does. He maybe a lot of people in the Pirates organization might need a Built Bar, especially the catchers who are about to be probably just dragging their feet by September. But summer is coming, and with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Of course, Built Bars are the perfect snack to take with you on family vacations. Throw them in your bags, in your kids' backpacks, and make sure that everyone has a bar so they are fueled for your summer adventures. The best part about Built Bars, they're healthy and delicious. No more sacrificing delicious food for health. With Built Bar, you can do both, and it's easy. All you have to do is go to Built.com and order now. Of course, all Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, and that means that you can eat Built Bars and eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. Of course, they have so many different flavors to choose from, but even if that's not enough flavor for you, then you might want to try a mix box. The mix box comes with 12 flavors of Built Bars and their new puffs, which are protein-infused marshmallows. Of course, Built Bar makes sure that everything is there for someone, whatever you might like, and go to Built.com to get all your favorites: banana cream pie, raspberry, double chocolate, and so many more. And they are delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. So check them out at Built.com, and go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, and you will get 15% off of your order when you invest in the best protein bars on the planet. So now enough about, well, I wouldn't say enough about it, but the Pirates have 2 series this weekend. We'll see how many games they play. I mean, it was impossible for their predictions for me and Gary last week to be any sort of right, considering they didn't even play the amount of games.
Weather looks good this week.
So. Yeah, well, let's hope so. 7 days in PNC Park. course, the first three, the Wicked Witch of the West comes out to play the Pittsburgh Pirates. It will be the Dodgers and the Pirates. Tonight, Julio Urias and Jose Quintana. Jose Quintana, much like Tyler Anderson last year, has probably been the best starting pitcher on this roster. Tomorrow, Tony Gonsolin and Bryce Wilson, who Bryce Wilson's ERA we've seen shot down a lot lately. He's down to a 3.79, so he's starting to see things come around a little bit. And then, of course, on Wednesday, there's actually nobody listed yet. So we'll see what happens there. And then, of course, the Reds come to town for a 4-game set. We'll see if they actually play 4 games. We'll see if the Pirates can actually have better fortunes in PNC Park. What are we looking forward to this week? That's really, I mean, the Dodger series is just, I don't even know what positives to bring out of the Dodger series. They have the best record in baseball. They're the best team in baseball. They overmatch the Pirates in pretty much every single spot. But is this one of those series where it's like, just look better than you did in Cincinnati and also try to be competitive and maybe pull one out of 3?
I mean, the best to worst in Major League Baseball shouldn't be as wide a gap as it is. Shouldn't feel that way. And even when they are bad, payroll-wise, you should be able to, most nights, hang with the best in the league, you know? Be scrappy enough to fight with them a little bit, you know? I think I'd like to just see them look professional against the Dodgers. I'm not expecting any wins, but still, you come all the way across from the West Coast to the East Coast. That's not an easy trip either, you know? And as good as they are, you know, TBA might falter, you know? You don't know what's going to happen there in the afternoon game. So let's hope they squeak one out there. And then let's hope they just give it to the Reds. Because I think that Perez injury and some questionable decisions by Derek Shelton probably made that Reds series go in the opposite direction that it was trending. And I liked the way the bats were starting to come together. I know it's Cincinnati. I know it's easier to hit home runs, but just getting a number next to Yoshi in the home run department is important for him and the team. And seeing Brian Reynolds start to kind of be able to seek the pitch he's looking for a little bit more often is important for him and this team. That's the kind of stuff we need to keep looking for and hope that things come together.
Yeah, and that's where I am with it too, is I think just look like a professional baseball team. Ke'Bryan Hayes should play at least 6 of these 7 games. I don't care. If you want to have his wonderful rest day, he should play 6 of these 7 games.
If they're gonna rest Reynolds, it should be Wednesday.
Yeah, because then he should play every single game against Cincinnati.
Yes.
But again, apparently the way everything that he wants to do it, Sundays is just a universal rest day. It's like, hey, it's Jesus's day. You know, you get to sit down, go to church or something. You know, so that's the Derek Shelton mantra. But again, we always do predictions on Mondays. 4-3 is the one I want to say. That's what they should do. They should just lose the first 3 and win the next 4. That's exactly how that should go. But will it go that way?
I'm going to go 4-3 too. Even while I think they're going to steal one from the Dodgers, I think they'll lose one they shouldn't to the Reds. So sweeps don't happen for the Pirates. They're illegal in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So
that's in reference to not only baseball. That's also in reference to another sport as well. They're not allowed to sweep anybody. And of course, I will go ahead and mention this as we're coming to a wrap up with the 4-3 record prediction with the Dodgers and Reds. Of course, there is another important thing going on in Pittsburgh. Make sure you go check out Locked On Penguins and Hunter Hodes. He's doing a phenomenal job. Make sure you eat some spicy pork and broccoli while you watch this Pirates game as well. Again, I will be completely blunt about this as we end this one. Baseball, I could talk baseball for hours. My mom is the hockey person. I tell her this all the time. I balk at whatever you have to say. whatever you tell me about hockey, because she could tell me the whole Penguins lineup from 1997. I'm like, whatever you got to say, I will not say anything. I only usually watch the playoffs. I'll be honest. Is that bad of me? Yes, but hockey is just so weird for me to comprehend sometimes, because it's like the other night, as we're ending this up, when they lost 5-2, they were down 3-2 in the third period, and literally just it looked like they were all over them. And then you look at the box score and it's 5-2. I'm like, yeah, go watch the first 3 minutes of the third period, and it was like they were just all over them. And I attribute some of the stuff that I learned from hockey to baseball too, that you could literally be all over a team for 3 minutes or 3 innings and still lose, i.e. Sunday against the Cincinnati Reds. But again, as I asked yesterday, guys, make sure you post all of your questions over on Twitter at Locked On Pirates, and thank you for making me and Gary your first listen every single Monday. Of course, if you want to hear Gary rant a little bit more about some things about the Pirates, of course, the Pirates Fan Forum on DK Pittsburgh's podcast network will be up Friday.
Yep, Friday.
Of course, Inside the Bucks Basement, where I am doing some writing work and Gary does all of his work. He will, I'm for sure, have some 5 thoughts at 5 today. I'm very much looking forward to that. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in today on this episode of Locked On Pirates. Make sure you go check out Locked On MLB with our pal Sully, who is covering everything going on in the world of baseball. And there was a lot going on in the world of baseball that I didn't even really know about in terms of some teams faltering right now. But with all that said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in as you do every single Monday. And me and Gary will see you on the flip side.